Hey yo, how you doing today, Anya?
I'm okay, very busy. Been a
Busy.
busy bee.
Mm. Yeah, I can't say that I have been super busy, but I also have. It's this very interesting process that I've been in where I'm like staying as calm and present as I can while everything is shifting and not really being able to do a whole lot with that, but stay present. I think that's what we're talking about today, right?
Yeah, it's a good theme. Like, because we were saying there's quite a lot of different energies up, but I actually don't have too long today, so we've got quite good concepts to talk about, and we're going to dive into those next session. But today we thought, because it's a shorter session, what can we bring in the energies of this like smaller session today, and how can we just bring a more reflective focus? Because sometimes, like I'm experiencing right now, like you say, I'm not overly busy in like specific things to do. I just feel like there's a lot to do, and I feel like there's like this energy of it's kind of like productivity, but it almost feels like a lot of responsibility in some ways as well. So it's like I don't even think a lot of it's human. I think it's the reclaim spiritual. I think it's reclaiming the human experience a little bit more. I think it's like, okay, well, we've shifted to this higher frequency in a spirit, but how do we actually anchor that in the human? And I
Right.
feel like that's what we're going through. If I had to put it into words, it feels like we are anchoring this new transformed energy into the human experience.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I get like that busy feeling, because it feels like there's a lot going on, even though there's not even physically that much physical things to do. I've been way busier in previous times, but my energy feels busy. I feel like I'm must be doing a lot in the background because I don't have much available at the foreground, if that makes sense.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
Mm.
I have to say for me, it feels like there's so much viscerally moving. Like
Mm-hmm.
that there's a lot of movement happening, and I'm in a pretty big transformational space right now. I've got a space that I'm shifting into that's bigger, and kind of just knowing that I have some things to do, but also how can I interpret the energy so that I'm not like doing or hustling or like my body is stopping itself to be like, how can I interpret this energy?
Mm.
And I think that's where the grounding and the embodiment piece comes, because beforehand it would have been like obviously a dysregulated nervous system. I would have been running around doing all the things.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't want to do that. So how can
Mm-hmm.
I communicate with this information that's coming in a way that I can kind of be present with it and surrender to it, which is all I've had to do is just I'm going to surrender to this process, because there's definitely been
Mm.
times where I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. What is going on? No, I don't. I do agree with that. Like, I've got a lot of things coming up towards the end of the month. It's my son's second birthday. We're going to be traveling to America. We're going to
Mhm.
have a lot of things that are like navigating. And I know myself, and usually I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. And I'll just leave it to last minute. And then I'm burning out in them last few days. And so now we're obviously a little bit beginning to middle. And I'm like, okay, I need to be prepping everything. I want to start wrapping the presents now. I want to start packing the suitcases now. I want to start feeling connected to the experiences I'm going to be doing and prepared so that it's not just like this fight or flight, stressful nervous system dysregulated thing. And again, that's taking accountability and ownership for how my own actions create that dysregulation. My own lack of action creates that dysregulation. And so I'm trying to take accountability for where I can be changing certain patterns and programs. And I love being such a free spirit. It's wonderful, but it doesn't benefit me all of the time. And that's what I've really learned since having kids is I think I was a little bit in my ego of it, of like, oh yeah, I'm a free spirit. But actually it wasn't always working out for me that well. And I think until I was forced to actually look at it in such a different way, that then allowed me to kind of see the true purpose of it. I've forgotten to flick the switch on of the laptop charger. 1 second.
You're good.
It's dying. There we go. I'm back.
We made it.
2 seconds. But yeah, just going back to that. So yeah, I'm taking accountantship, taking on accountantship, keep merging them words, accountability and ownership of where I get dysregulated. And you mentioned earlier staying present, and I think I do struggle to do that sometimes. Like I'm so away with the fairies And then I'm like trying to navigate all the things that are going on. And I feel like sometimes that actually takes me away from being in the experience fully.
Yep.
So I'm trying to sit with things a little bit more. I'm trying, maybe that's not the right word. I'm intending to slow down a little bit more and to just be going through it rather than trying to catch up to it. That's what I feel like I do a lot is play catch up, and I'm trying to be more in the moment with it.
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you on that. I think for me as I've been moving through this process and I am very free-spirited too, like down to a T, I had to re-pattern in myself what being free actually meant,
Mm,
which to me would be I've got to take accountability for what I need to get done so that I can be free. And I that's definitely what I've been playing out the last little while as I'm doing the actions needed to make sure my space is cared for and it feels good, it feels safe, and any signed contracts, which are those are everything's
Maya.
like done and settled in, and I'm noticing myself uh really stopping and slowing down to anything that I react to, which means, I've had a few trigger processes coming its way through, which we all do, no matter what, no matter where we're at on our journey, where previously I would have definitely been like, okay, I'm gonna speak, even if I speak out of this energy, which would be a dysregulated energy, even if it's something that is direct or kind or whatever the case is, I'm noticing that that energy is obviously still going to inflect my words and how I'm acting, right?
Yeah,
My body's been in, I'm going to slow down, take a breath into this process. Maybe there is no action required, and that's the action right now
that needs to be happening.
needs
Yeah,
to
I
be
agree.
happening, right? Or
Mhm.
if I'm gonna speak, which energy am I speaking from? So that that action of me speaking is going to be directed in a way that's going to be beneficial and regulating from from a stable place versus I'm going to dysregulate myself by speaking this and then I'm going to continue to be dysregulated because I came from a dysregulated space.
Yeah, exactly,
That's
exactly. And it
inconsistent.
is, yeah, and it's being aware of where we're actually starting that frequency from. And I
Yep.
was giving feedback to someone the other day, and instead of starting it from a neutral place, I started it in a little bit more of a triggered place from me because I was triggered at the way they was speaking to someone else, but that was my own shit. And I started it very defensive. And I was met with pure defense. And then I recognized that instantly. And I was like, oh, no, okay. So I shifted my energy and I reworded what I said. And I came at it in a way more neutral, kind of kind, nice, gentle approach.
Mhm.
And it was met with just so much more understanding and awareness and connection. And like, oh, yeah, actually, I really see that. I really get that. But it took from me to take full accountability of actually the way I was saying that initially was wrong. And that was coming from my own emotional charge rather than from an actual necessity. That wasn't needed to speak like that. There wasn't a need for me to initiate it in that way. It was triggered and it was driven by more of a aggression tone and more of a defensive tone for me, for women, for a trigger on that sort of situation. And but that wasn't going to bring harmony. That was only going to bring more conflict. And so I had to recognize and shift. And I think that's really important. But how can we do that if we're not being present in where we're coming from in that moment? Like if we're not presently checking as energy, if we're not being present on what emotional charge is driving that, if you're only doing that in the after fact and reflecting, then that's where maybe you're not being fully present throughout the whole processes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely does make sense. I think as soon as the process or the trigger, at least my experience has been happening, I've had to really be present with the emotional response first and
Mm-hmm.
let that come out the way that it needs to, like regardless. Because I noticed too, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait here to respond, but also I'm bypassing how I'm feeling about it right off the bat. So I've been like,
Yeah,
okay, I'm gonna stop right now. I'm gonna swear a storm right now, and I'm gonna just get that all out.
yeah. And it's looking at that from an unbiased, unjudgmental awareness because, like, sometimes I always think this, all right, so say someone's disrespecting your boundaries, but you're in a room full of people, or there's a lot more people there. I don't like to play fake. So if something has bothered me in that moment, I'm usually going to let you know straight away, and I find it extremely difficult to pretend that it's not. Like my body is physically uncomfortable throughout that process.
Yep.
And I was confronted with this like reflection of, well, what if it's like, say a couple, for example, like this other couple gave me a reflection and said, oh, well, we don't like to do that in public. So if we have an issue with each other, like we'll do that privately, separately on our own, and we won't do it because we don't want to disrespect each other in a public environment. Now, I totally see that and I get that and I do respect that and I don't think that's wrong in any way. But I guess what I sat with is I don't know how to then continue the rest of the night pretending to be a friend.
Yeah.
That for me would be extremely difficult and extremely false for me to then play happy families and play nicey nicey until then I had the moment of privacy to then actually offload my own truth. I'd find that like wearing clothes that were too small,
Yep.
that'd be extremely difficult. So yeah, I guess I was just reflecting that to you on like, I understand in a relationship and respect and like respecting each other's image in a public way and like looking after each other in terms of not like airing your dirty laundry or whatever you want to say. But in the same respect, for me, if there's a disrespect, whether it's friends, family, or partner, I do feel the need to say, listen, I don't like the way you're speaking to me right now, or I don't appreciate that tone, or I do feel the need to do that, And so, what's your reflection on that?
Oh, I've got to do it right in the moment too. Otherwise, I'm going to be the false person again, just like you said.
Yeah.
And have I done that? Yeah, absolutely, to keep the peace and
Mm-hmm.
old stuff that I've moved through. And obviously, there's still layers. I'm going to say I'm not done moving through it. There's layers. But I have to speak it right off the bat, or I have to say, "Excuse me, one moment." Take myself outside just to get my emotional perspective looked at, my body looked after. Because sometimes when I've been disrespected, my body is immediately unsafe.
Oh yeah, me too. And that's why I go straight into the aggression mode, not physically aggressive, but like into aggression defense of like,
Yep.
you are not going to come at me. And that comes from being bullied at high school and being completely unprepared for that experience because I was quite cotton wool wrapped. And so going into high school, I was like, what is this world? And I had no preparation and I was really badly bullied to the point I had to move schools. And so I think that aggression defense comes from not feeling like I could protect myself physically, mentally, or spiritually. And so I kind of had an act or a defense mechanism that was the safest way to prevent any form of attack or, bullying again was I will be the loudest in the room or the most dominant or, but it was all false. It was fake it till you make it because
Yep.
partly there is a fire to me and I won't deny that. But a lot of the like overlay, that was just a protection thing, a defense and protection thing. And yeah, I think it's recognizing where them charges come from though, because I've been working on the anger for about since I was 17, so nearly over 10 years. And it was looking at why. And again, it always took me back to being bullied. And,
Mhm.
the same thing we were just saying is not speaking your truth in that moment is the same thing as people pleasing. It's the same thing as adjusting yourself to meet others' needs. It's the same thing as shrinking yourself to, again, please other people. It's not honoring your true, authentic self. And that doesn't mean you have to go in all guns blazing, kicking off.
Exactly.
But there is a certain line of not just allowing the disrespect even until a later time, because then, in my opinion, I don't also want the people around me to think I allow that behavior, and that's another thing why I will check that whether it's anyone. It's setting a certain standard of how I
Of
expect to be
course.
treated. And I don't think that matters that whether that's in public or not.
Oh, yeah, no, no. I will do that in public. I'll do that wherever I'm at with whoever I'm at with at the moment.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
said, if it's a really, really like intense disrespect
Yeah.
and like my body, like I'm not able to speak because my nervous system is like, I'm gonna shut down now because I'm entirely unsafe, then I got
Mm-hmm.
second or else those words aren't gonna be coming out at all, right?
Right.
That
Right.
point, my biggest thing is I'm gonna get my body safe for a second because it needs that. If I speak out of this point, like obviously I can't because that vocal piece is shut down. I've definitely had that with
Mm-hmm.
some of the trauma I've been through. And then I come back and I say it. Now, most of the time though, if there's something like that that pops up with somebody, it's immediate.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
No.
just big old like, absolutely not. No,
Love that.
no, I'm not
Yeah.
playing. no, thank you. But it's pretty immediate, I'd have to say, where my nervous system is at. I do want to make sure, like, w when that happens, like, that my body can feel safe to do it. Because if I'm speaking entirely out of a dysregulated space, then it kind of continues, and I can feel.
Mhm.
So I've taught my body.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've taught my body to be like, okay, I'm in this moment. I'm going to feel it for 1 second. If my words do come out, it's going to be sharp. It's going to be quick. That's going to be it. If it can't for a second because it triggered something else, I'm going to take myself aside for 1 moment, and then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to express that to somebody. If they don't respect it again, I'm out.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's really important because there has been so many times I've allowed that energy to bother me. And it's a choice. It's a choice whether you
Oh,
stay, whether you reply, whether you actually let that energy that they're spouting at you or vice versa. It's a choice whether you engage with it. And I have chose to many times, including recently. This is not like 10 years ago thing. Oh no, I've done this recently. This is a big one, and it's like, oh, it takes everything in you to walk away, and but it is the safety piece. Like, I'm really glad you brought that up because again, that goes in with being present. If you're not aware that your body's shifted into defense, that your body's shifted from feeling safe into fight or flight defense mode,
yep.
then you're not going to be aware how much you're going to spiral right then. And that was
Right.
me a few years ago because I would already be at full blown explosion before I even had the recognition of what were going on. I'd already be melting down because I didn't have that connection, that presence, that being present in the moment and sitting with the emotions. There was so much going on. I'd just process it after the fact or at the explosion point. Whereas now I do feel it. I feel that, ooh, and then I'm like, go, leave, and then there's
Yep.
sometimes it's just like I'm just back in there, but then, like you say, once I'm starting from that dysregulated place, it is only going to go one way because I'm in that dysregulated. Person is in the dysregulated, but it's going to only be in a dysregulated environment. But giving that advice, that what you just said, is so important because if I'd have been told that as a young girl, as a teenager, as someone growing up, even as an adult, a young adult, listen, you don't have to continue in that moment to keep trying to get your point because it's probably not going to work. Like, leave. And, ways I work on safety is movement, music,
Mhm.
different environments. Like you say, outside is really great. Sometimes if you have a car, go in the car, just sit in the car. If you don't feel like you can drive right then, just getting in a different environment, putting some music on, anything like that. It can be very small, a little bit of a hug, tap in, check in, whatever work. It's shifting out that fight or flight and that adrenaline, that cortisol that's then pumping around your body to
Yep.
return you back into a neutral state, a more safe state. But and then again going back in. But if it's not met with respect, understanding, like actual space for you to talk, then you don't need to again try and get them to meet you. You can just walk out of that
Totally.
situation. You don't
Totally.
have to beg someone to have respect for your words.
Absolutely. And it's a little bit of me reading the space too, because obviously if they'd done that, my body's like, there is no use in me even trying to express that, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to waste my energy and I'm going to be protecting myself. And that's number one thing. Myself, my inner child, all my aspects, they are number one. They get all the protection and safety that they need. That's my job to put them in that safe space so that they can empower themselves that they can more speak up for themselves when that comes in. But that's
Yeah.
also the first thing I do too is like, okay, I'm gonna call my power back right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna call it all back.
Yeah. It's important that. It's
Yep.
important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah.
so simple, but so important. Sometimes I do forget to do that.
Because like for me to even speak in certain ways. And now it's kind of like a walking embodiment where it's kind of a little dance where I'm like, oh, triggered. Oh, like you said, oh, all right. Here's my response, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay, let's go. It's
And
sometimes it feels easier to go that way, but it's not in the long run, but it feels it in the moment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely been a slow down. I'm gonna be present with this. Sometimes like I get really triggered and I haven't quite caught what that trigger is yet. I'm around somebody,
Mm,
okay, I don't know what that is yet. I can't speak up because I don't know. Then I have to watch what that was. I have to kind of go back with my body and be like, where did you catch this? What was that? trigger piece. And then it's, am I safe enough? What is it that you need to actually say in the space? Is it going to be a boundary? Is it going to be, hey, this is unacceptable for me. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. I'll come back when you can respect me, because that can be that too, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Sometimes it is fully walking away, and I've had to do that plenty of times.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had, like you said, not all of them experiences, all different ones. And I think the ones that test me most are the ones that you are trying to keep on working on because it requires constant like growth and evolution and meeting each other in the middle and constant recommunication. Sometimes it is easier to walk away as much as it's painful in the moment. I find it easier sometimes, even though I'd struggle to do it. I'm not the one that usually walks away. Usually it's the other way around, but it has been refreshing lately. I've seen a few people that I've disconnected from years back and then been recently like just seeing their energy. And I find it so wild that some people who I shared so many experiences and memories with just become such strangers and like no
Yep.
connection to that whatsoever. And obviously it's right, it's meant to be, because you could never imagine shrinking yourself to that version that you were to be with that experience. Totally agree. But I do think that's wild sometimes how you can share this journey and you never knew that it was only going to be such a short time. And again, that's bringing me back to the whole point of the video is being present because, talking to my best friend who's expecting a baby anytime in the next few weeks and she's getting that agitation, that impatience. And, it's hard being heavily pregnant.
Yep.
But I did say to her, like, you will never be this version of you ever again. And I so wish, it makes me really emotional, because I so wish someone would have told me to just sit with her before I had the baby.
Yep.
Because I just never knew that. I didn't know that the day that that baby was going to be born, that part with me would also die. And I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I really, really, really grieved that. And I wish I'd have been told to just sit with her in the last few weeks when I were impatient and I were struggling and busy and stressed. I wish someone had just said, just sit with her because she won't be here anymore after
Right.
she has to change to become a mother. She
Right.
has to go. And I didn't know that, and yeah, I really wish I'd have been told to be present. And so I gave her that message and she took it very well. And she was like, oh, that makes me so emotional, but it's so true. And I think sometimes just even reflecting that message of wherever you are in your journey, you will be that version again next year, this time next year. You're not going to be this same version. And that does not just apply to pregnancy. That was just such a huge, fast, overnight transformation, which I think is why it's so recognizable instantly. But we're always evolving and changing and shedding and letting go and moving and transitioning. And so being present with this version right now that likes these songs and this food and these clothes and this way of living, just be there for a little bit. Don't try and be always rushing for the next buying the house and the next job and the next milestone, because then you are literally planning your life away instead of just living in it in the moment and being present in the experience that you're going through, even if it's a bit shit right now.
Oh, totally. And I'm going to ask you this. What is your definition of presence? What do you mean?
Great question. Great question. I think, go on.
Yeah, just how do you perceive it? Because I know everybody has a different perspective, and I want to bring everybody's perspective into place here.
Yeah, I totally agree. To put it into human words, it's like, again, I think I've noticed more when I wasn't. So in them last few weeks of pregnancy, with my first pregnancy, I was so overwhelmed in my mind of like prepping for birth and prepping for postpartum and prepping for like all the things I needed to do and the baby stuff and the walls being painted and the drawers being painted. And my mind was so occupied that I never just sat with her, and that's why I then had to grieve, not just that, but in fact, I wasn't prepared for it. And so when I think about presence, I think about the stillness. And that moment when you wake up sometimes and we always reach for his phone to check the time and then you end up seeing a notification and then your mind already gets busy with what you're doing and what you're going and and there's not even a gap between waking up and grabbing the phone for the time before there's presence. And so I've started consciously just leaving my phone downstairs and going to the toilet and having a moment just sat in the bathroom of just quiet, just stillness, because it's not usually that quiet in my house, but you get me, like a moment of no phone, no thoughts of the day and the cleaning jobs and the responsibilities. Like literally just, even if it's 30 seconds of just being in that present moment, trying to not try to do other things and plan and prep and think and da 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 da.
Right.
Just sitting in that moment a little bit, you know, not rushing it away and not constantly thinking about everything else. I think that's what I call presence, is trying not to do them things, you know.
Try not to like know what the next step is going to be.
Yeah, controlling. And
Yep.
again, the safety thing from not feeling emotionally safe. I did fall into a pattern of micromanaging and controlling a lot of things. And so it's shedding that and trying to let go of that need to control and know what's coming next to prepare. Preparing is a big thing for me. And even just like
Yep.
physically preparing bags and food and nappies and clothes and snacks and bottles. And it's like my brain is constantly on to-do list mode. And you know, it just don't really feel like it ever turns off. And I think that's why I struggle with that feeling of presence, because I never used to struggle that much before having kids, really. But when you're getting into that zone of being a mother and into motherhood, it does consume you, but so does work. And so does the responsibilities of cleaning the house. And so does the thought of money and this and that and this. And it just over consumes your mind. So it really is just finding a place of presence, peace, stillness.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I like to call presence just being in surrender to my very now moment and accepting everything that is right now.
Yes, I love that. Acceptance. Acceptance is a key word there. Love that.
Yeah, it's
Love that.
and I appreciate your definition too. And it's
Mm,
definitely a consistent walk. And I know when I'm not surrendering to it, because again, I'm trying to control it. I could be people pleasing if that comes into play. I could be trying to
mm.
do all these things and these constructs that, we're shifting out of to try to get to some point or somewhere or be something. All of those facets come up with not being present. And anytime I find myself in there, I'm like, oh. I'm gonna
Yep.
surrender to where I'm at right now, and I've got to go
Yep.
back into the feeling aspect of my body. I also know that if I'm not present, I'm not really feeling into what my body's doing. Because a lot of times then I'm like
Yep.
keeping myself busy for some whatever reason.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like the energy's been like lately. And I've been kind of aware of it, but then falling into it a little bit. And it is finding a balance. I'm not going to lie. Being a mum, running a business, running a house, having loads of animals and loads of things to do and living an adventurous life, it feels like you are in human mode way more than I ever used to be. And I struggle with that. And I think why the words just being, like you say, that's probably the form of acceptance. That's how I'm translating that. Yeah, is that's for me the presence, because I don't think I will get moments of like, or days of meditation and stuff like that. I don't get that anymore, but I don't expect to. I just appreciate them stillness that I get. You know, not even the slow. It's just like it feels like slow motion sometimes when I'm looking at the kids and everything, and it's just like it feels like a moment of just pure joy and pure bliss. And
Yep.
sometimes it's not them emotions, sometimes it's just acceptance of, like you said, this experience. And I recognize that. And I think that's really what we need to be just calling in a little bit more right now.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally feel that. If at least for me, when I'm walking in that and I'm in that constant like kind of surrender, which would be stillness to me, because I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
then that gives enough room to allow for other things to come in, for me to take the appropriate actions, to be a little bit clearer on what I'm doing. Um, and honestly, the happiness comes flying in with that, because then I'm not really
Yeah.
concerned about all the bullshit that's consistently happening.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, there's just, I think it's a strange time. It doesn't feel as intense right now, like emotionally as rough as it did a few months ago. You know, it feels
Yeah, for
a
sure.
bit more gentle, a bit more kind of we're on the surfboard, riding the waves rather than being looped under in the wave and trying to
Like
gasp for
getting
air, you
smacked.
know. We're all right, we've got a bit of air right now, we're in a bit of a chill zone. But I do feel there is like a few waves that are not necessarily choppy, but quite big ones. And it's just using our skills and knowledge on how to navigate those waves. Like, because we've already gained those skills, it's just applying them and having the confidence and the bravery to stand up on the surfboard. Don't know where this surfboard analogy is coming from, but let's roll with it.
We're
It's
rolling with
working.
it for sure.
So you get it, you get me. Stand up on the surfboard, embrace the skills, and ride the fucking wave.
Totally. I think at this point I get a lot of joy coming in because I'm doing things I certainly would not have done, a few months ago, as far as like being direct and riding the wave and understanding that the wave it can be such an empowering piece when you know how
Yeah,
to when you know how to ride the wave. And sometimes that wave is going to take you regardless. So you just got to be prepared
exactly. No, exactly.
for what it does.
Yeah, I think that summarizes the whole video today. Is sometimes you just got to ride the wave and surrender to the wave of whatever it looks like, and just like we've said, be present with it and don't try and force it, control it, navigate it in too many controlled ways. Like just accept where you are.
Mhm.
Trust that it's exactly where you need to be. That's a big one. Trust where you are, who you are, what you're doing. Everything is exactly where it needs to be and what it needs to be. And listen to your body a little bit more. Your body is constantly communicating with you. So listen, listen, listen. And sorry, it's been a bit shorter today, but it's a little bit late in England for the UK. So I have human responsibilities to be doing. But we will be doing a great video next time. I think we'll be diving into the Divine Mother archetype and exploring that a little bit. So do stay tuned and make sure you are doing all the human things of like following, subscribing, liking, and all the little human midgets.
Asking some questions and stuff like that. And I just want to say to close this up, whatever it is that you're having in your really human reality, embrace the human right now, because this is really like I feel like the biggest aspect of this present piece. Whether you're messy, whether you're all over the place, whether you can't keep a tune, like really embrace that, because that's the part of the art that is moving its way through. That's going to give you skill sets to be more present and have more presence and have more of what you want coming in. So,
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah.
all right.
Truly beautiful. Thank
Well,
you, Z.
thank you so much. I appreciate you. And
I
we're excited to
appreciate
see you on our
you.
next show, guys. Love you.
Yeah.